GCSE History, Elizabethan England. The Catholic Challenge. In this video, we are looking at Catholic opposition from abroad and at home, and Elizabeth's early response, the Northern Rebellion of 1569, Elizabeth's excommunication, Catholic missionaries and plots, Francis Walsingham's role as spymaster, and the harsher treatment of Catholics. Elizabeth faced significant opposition from Catholics, both abroad and at home, as her Protestant rule challenged the influence of Catholicism in England. Catholic opposition from abroad. Catholic countries in Europe were committed to opposing Protestantism through a movement known as the Counter-Reformation. This campaign, led by the Catholic Church, aimed to reverse the spread of Protestantism across Europe and restore Catholic dominance. In 1566, the Pope gave specific instructions to English Catholics, urging them not to attend Church of England services. This message directly challenged Elizabeth's authority and encouraged Catholics in England to resist her religious settlement. This directive, and the influence of Catholic powers like Spain and France, created a serious threat, as Elizabeth faced potential foreign intervention aimed at supporting English Catholics and weakening her Protestant rule. Catholic opposition at home. At home, Elizabeth also faced opposition from influential Catholic figures. Under her predecessor, Mary I, many high-ranking positions in the royal court and on the Privy Council were held by Catholics. Additionally, the north of England was controlled by powerful Catholic families, whom Mary had favoured. Mary had even married King Philip II of Spain, a strong Catholic monarch, in an attempt to secure an heir and strengthen ties with this powerful Catholic country. When Elizabeth came to power, she began re-establishing Protestantism, which alienated many English Catholics who had held significant influence during Mary's reign. Elizabeth reduced the size of her Privy Council, removing many Catholic noblemen from key roles. The Catholic noble families in the north also saw their power and influence decline under her rule, furthering their resentment. Despite these changes, it's estimated that around 1/3 of the nobility and a considerable number of the gentry, especially in the northwest of England, remained loyal to Catholicism. This posed a constant threat, as these Catholics held wealth, influence and connections that could be used to resist Elizabeth's Protestant rule or even support plots against her. Elizabeth's early response. When Elizabeth became Queen, she initially took a relatively tolerant approach towards Catholics. While she was committed to establishing Protestantism as the official religion, she understood that many people in England, including some powerful nobles, were still loyal to Catholicism. The religious settlement of 1559, which aimed to create a moderate Protestant Church of England, faced strong opposition from the Catholic members in the House of Lords. Recognising the potential for unrest, Elizabeth allowed Catholics to practice their faith privately, as long as they outwardly supported the new Protestant religion and demonstrated loyalty to her. This meant that Catholics could avoid punishment if they attended Church of England services publicly, even if they held Catholic beliefs in private. As long as they showed respect for Elizabeth's authority and did not openly challenge her religious policies, they were generally left alone. This policy of private tolerance allowed Elizabeth to maintain stability while still promoting Protestantism across the country. The Northern Rebellion of 1569. The Northern Rebellion, also known as the Rising of the North, was an attempt by powerful Catholic nobles in northern England to overthrow Elizabeth and replace her with Mary, Queen of Scots. It was the most significant Catholic challenge Elizabeth faced early in her reign. Political causes. Under Elizabeth, many prominent Catholics who had held influence during the reign of Mary I began to lose power. Elizabeth favoured Protestant advisers like William Cecil and Robert Dudley, rather than the Catholic nobles who had previously been influential, especially in the north. Elizabeth reduced the size of her Privy Council, removing several Catholic members and diminishing their influence in government. This angered Catholic nobles, who felt sidelined by her reliance on Protestant advisers. The Duke of Norfolk, a powerful noble and cousin to Elizabeth, aimed to strengthen his influence by marrying Mary, Queen of Scots. This would position him and Mary as a potential future Catholic ruling pair, aligning himself with Catholic interests. He conspired to make Mary the heir to Elizabeth's throne, which threatened Elizabeth's authority. Religious causes. The north of England, particularly areas controlled by the powerful Catholic families of Northumberland and Westmoreland, remained largely Catholic and loyal to traditional practices. These families hoped to restore Catholicism in England by replacing Elizabeth, a Protestant, with Mary, Queen of Scots, a Catholic. Catholic leaders across Europe, including the Pope, actively opposed Protestantism through the Counter-Reformation. The Pope's instruction to Catholics in 1566 not to attend Church of England services fueled resistance and encouraged Catholic nobles to take action against Elizabeth. Isolated from London and strongly Catholic, the northern counties had long-standing loyalty to Catholic practices and remained resistant to Elizabeth's Protestant reforms. This strong religious identity created an ideal setting for a rebellion. Economic causes. Many northern Catholic nobles, such as the Earls of Northumberland and Westmoreland, saw their wealth and influence decline under Elizabeth's rule. As Protestant loyalists gained favour, Catholic nobles faced the threat of losing not only political power, but also their land and economic influence. The northern noble families had traditionally relied on local authority and control over their own estates to maintain wealth. With Elizabeth tightening control over these regions and diminishing the power of local Catholic leaders, their economic security was at risk, leading to resentment and a desire to regain power. Key figures. The Duke of Norfolk. As a high-ranking noble and Elizabeth's cousin, he became central to the conspiracy by planning to marry Mary, Queen of Scots. He saw this marriage as a way to strengthen his own influence and provide England with a Catholic heir. However, he was forced to abandon his plans after Robert Dudley, one of Elizabeth's favourites, revealed the plot. The Earl of Northumberland, Thomas Percy. A prominent Catholic noble in northern England, Percy was a main leader of the rebellion. He was strongly opposed to Elizabeth's Protestant rule and motivated by a desire to restore Catholicism and regain his lost influence. The Earl of Westmoreland, Charles Neville. Another powerful Catholic noble, Neville joined Northumberland in leading the rebellion. He was motivated by religious loyalty to Catholicism and resentment over his declining influence in Elizabeth's court. Robert Dudley. Though initially involved in the plot due to his dislike of William Cecil's influence over Elizabeth, Dudley eventually became guilty about his involvement and confessed the plan to Elizabeth. This forced Norfolk to abandon the marriage proposal and stopped some conspirators from acting openly. Nicholas Throckmorton. A Catholic sympathiser, Throckmorton was involved in the early planning stages of the rebellion, supporting Norfolk's plan to marry Mary, Queen of Scots. And Mary, Queen of Scots. Though Mary herself was not directly involved in the planning of the rebellion, she was central to the plot. Catholic nobles saw her as a legitimate alternative to Elizabeth and as a potential Catholic ruler of England. Events. When Elizabeth became aware of the growing Catholic threat, she summoned the Earls of Northumberland and Westmoreland to court. Instead of appearing, the Earls launched a rebellion in the north. On the 9th of November 1569, nearly 5,000 rebels gathered under the leadership of Northumberland and Westmoreland. On the 14th of November, they gathered for a Catholic Mass in Durham Cathedral, a symbolic act of defiance, and then began marching south. By December, the rebels captured Barnard Castle, a key stronghold in the north. They hoped for support from Spain, as promised by the Spanish ambassador, but the help never arrived. Spain's lack of support was partly due to their distrust of Mary, Queen of Scots, who had connections with France. The rebellion lost momentum when the expected Spanish assistance failed to arrive. Catholic nobles in the south remained loyal to Elizabeth, and there was no clear plan for attacking London. As Elizabeth's army, led by the Earl of Sussex, advanced north, many rebels fled. The Earl of Westmoreland escaped abroad, while the Earl of Northumberland was captured in Scotland and later executed. Consequences. The Earl of Northumberland was betrayed by Scottish allies and beheaded in 1572. Although Elizabeth's Privy Council wanted the Duke of Norfolk executed as well, she showed restraint by imprisoning him in the Tower of London. Elizabeth seized land from rebel leaders and redistributed it to loyal supporters, weakening the power of Catholic families in the north and solidifying her control over the region. Elizabeth appointed the Protestant Earl of Huntingdon to lead the Council of the North, ensuring tighter control and limiting the influence of remaining Catholic nobles. As a result of the rebellion, Elizabeth's government expanded the definition of treason and enforced harsher penalties on those who opposed her. This helped deter further Catholic uprisings. The Pope had not yet excommunicated Elizabeth when the rebellion occurred. Had he done so earlier, more Catholics in England might have felt justified in joining the uprising. This timing helped Elizabeth retain support from many Catholics who remained loyal to her as their legitimate ruler. Excommunication. In 1570, Pope Pius V took a dramatic step by formally excommunicating Elizabeth from the Catholic Church. This was a major event that significantly affected Elizabeth's reign and increased tensions in England. On the 27th of April 1570, a papal bull, which is an official proclamation, was issued, called Regnans in Excelsis, which means reigning on high. In this decree, the Pope declared that Elizabeth was a heretic and therefore no longer the rightful Queen of England. He released English Catholics from any loyalty to her and encouraged them to work towards removing her from the throne. By releasing Catholics from their allegiance to Elizabeth, the Pope put the loyalty of English Catholics in doubt. Now Catholics were torn between their duty to their Queen and their obedience to the Pope. This proclamation suggested that true Catholics should not support Elizabeth, and indirectly encouraged rebellion against her Protestant rule. Elizabeth's religious settlement had established a moderate Protestant Church of England that allowed Catholics some freedom to practice their faith privately, as long as they were outwardly loyal to Elizabeth. However, the Pope's excommunication challenged this compromise, as it made Elizabeth's religious authority look illegitimate in the eyes of devout Catholics. This led to increased pressure on English Catholics, who were now viewed with suspicion and faced harsher penalties if they appeared disloyal. The excommunication also raised the threat of Catholic foreign powers intervening to restore Catholicism in England. Catholic rulers in Europe, especially in Spain and France, now had a stronger reason to support attempts to overthrow Elizabeth, as the Pope's decree gave religious justification to any military action against her. Catholic missionaries. The Catholic Church was concerned that Catholicism might disappear in England as a result of the religious settlement, so it actively worked to maintain the faith through missionaries. In 1568, William Allen, an English cardinal, set up a college in Douai in the Netherlands to train English Catholic priests, known as seminary priests. These priests were smuggled into England from 1574 to keep Catholicism alive, performing secret services and encouraging Catholics to remain loyal to the Pope rather than Elizabeth. In 1580, Jesuit missionaries also began arriving in England. The Jesuits were members of a Catholic order established to promote Catholicism as part of the Counter-Reformation and were dedicated to converting Protestants back to Catholicism. Their mission was viewed as a direct threat to Elizabeth's authority and her Protestant settlement. Two English Jesuits, Robert Parsons and Edmund Campion, led the mission. Parsons continued his work in secret, but Campion was arrested in July 1581. He was tortured in the Tower of London, found guilty of treason, and executed in December 1581 by being hanged, drawn, and quartered. This brutal punishment was intended to send a strong message to other Catholic missionaries and their supporters. In 1585, Elizabeth's government passed the Act Against Jesuits and Seminary Priests, which ordered all Catholic priests to leave England or face execution. The Act aimed to drive out Catholic missionaries and prevent them from spreading Catholic beliefs. Many priests who remained in England were captured, tried, and executed under this law. Wealthy Catholic families, especially in the north and west of England, often sheltered priests. They built secret hiding places, known as priest holes, in their homes to protect missionaries from authorities. These hiding spots became essential as the persecution of Catholic priests increased, especially after several Catholic plots to assassinate Elizabeth were uncovered. The arrival of Catholic missionaries, combined with growing fears of foreign Catholic invasion, led to harsher penalties and increased persecution of Catholics in England. The government became more suspicious of Catholics, seeing them as potential traitors who might support foreign intervention or rebellion. Catholic plots. As Elizabeth's reign progressed, she faced an increasing number of Catholic plots aimed at overthrowing her and restoring Catholicism in England. 3 of the most significant plots were the Ridolfi Plot, 1571. The aim was to overthrow Elizabeth, launch a Spanish invasion, and place Mary Queen of Scots on the throne to restore Catholicism. Who? The plot was led by Roberto di Ridolfi, an Italian Catholic banker and a spy for the Pope. Key supporters included Pope Pius V, Philip II of Spain, and the Duke of Norfolk and the Duke of Alba. What happened? Ridolfi left England to discuss the plot with the Pope, Philip II, and the Duke of Alba, a Spanish military commander in the Netherlands. Ridolfi carried a letter signed by the Duke of Norfolk, declaring his loyalty to Catholicism and willingness to lead a rebellion. Philip II instructed the Duke of Alba to prepare an invasion force of 10,000 soldiers to support the plot. Outcome. Elizabeth's chief advisor, William Cecil, uncovered the plot and took swift action. The Duke of Norfolk was arrested and executed for treason in 1572, while Ridolfi escaped to Europe and avoided punishment. The Throckmorton Plot of 1583. The aim was to invade England with Spanish and French support, overthrow Elizabeth, and restore Catholicism by placing Mary Queen of Scots on the throne. Who? The plot was led by Francis Throckmorton, a Catholic nobleman and cousin to Bess Throckmorton, one of Elizabeth's ladies-in-waiting. It was backed by the French Duke of Guise and Philip II of Spain. What happened? The Duke of Guise planned to lead a French invasion of England, free Mary Queen of Scots, and overthrow Elizabeth with financial backing from Philip II. Throckmorton acted as a go-between, carrying messages and organising support. Outcome. Elizabeth's spymaster, Sir Francis Walsingham, discovered the plot. Throckmorton was arrested, tortured, and confessed under pressure. He was later executed, and the exposure of this plot heightened suspicions of Catholics in England. The Babington Plot of 1586. The aim was to assassinate Elizabeth, place Mary Queen of Scots on the throne, and restore Catholicism in England. Who? The plot was organised by Sir Anthony Babington, a recusant nobleman loyal to Catholicism, with support from the Duke of Guise, Philip II of Spain, and the Pope. What happened? The Duke of Guise planned to invade England with an army of 60,000 men to place Mary Queen of Scots on the throne. Babington, who was communicating secretly with Mary, organised a group to assassinate Elizabeth. Walsingham's spy network intercepted coded letters between Babington and Mary that showed her knowledge of and support for the plot. Outcome. The intercepted letters provided evidence against Mary Queen of Scots, leading to her trial and eventual execution. Babington and his accomplices were arrested, found guilty, and executed by being hanged, drawn, and quartered. Following this plot, there were mass arrests of recusants, those refusing to attend Church of England services, as the government sought to prevent further Catholic threats. Significance. The Catholic plots against Elizabeth demonstrated the ongoing challenge she faced in securing her Protestant rule. Each plot involved foreign Catholic powers and influential English Catholics, highlighting the threat of invasion and rebellion. The discovery and punishment of those involved, including the execution of Mary Queen of Scots, showed Elizabeth's determination to protect her throne and control Catholic influence in England. These plots led to increased surveillance, harsher laws against recusants, and a heightened sense of distrust towards English Catholics. Francis Walsingham's role as spymaster. Francis Walsingham was one of Elizabeth's most trusted advisers, and in 1573 he became her Secretary of State. In this role, he developed an extensive network of spies and informers, which played a crucial role in protecting Elizabeth and uncovering plots against her. Walsingham built a highly organised spy network that covered every town and city in England, ensuring that he had eyes and ears across the country. His agents reported any suspicious activity, especially from Catholics suspected of plotting to overthrow Elizabeth. Walsingham extended his network beyond England, placing spies in countries like France, Spain, Germany, and Italy. These agents helped him monitor foreign Catholic powers who might be planning to support rebellions against Elizabeth. Walsingham used ciphers, coded messages, for secure communication with his agents. This made it difficult for enemies to intercept or understand his messages, ensuring his network operated in secrecy. Walsingham also recruited Catholic priests to work as informants. By turning former enemies into spies for Elizabeth's government, he gained valuable information about Catholic networks and activities. Harsher treatment of Catholics. Elizabeth's initial tolerance towards Catholics shifted to harsher treatment after 1570 due to increasing threats, including Catholic plots to overthrow her and her excommunication by the Pope. In 1571, Elizabeth's government introduced recusancy fines, penalising those who refused to attend Church of England services. While these fines were not heavily enforced at first, it became illegal to possess any Catholic items, such as rosary beads, which symbolised loyalty to Catholic practices over Elizabeth's Protestant rule. The threat from Catholic missionaries and plots led to harsher laws in 1581. Recusants were now fined £20, a very large amount that few people could afford. In addition, attempting to convert anyone to Catholicism was now considered an act of treason, punishable by death. This law aimed to stop the spread of Catholic influence in England. In 1585, Elizabeth's government passed a law that any Catholic priest ordained after 1559 was considered a traitor and could be executed if found in England. This effectively targeted missionaries sent to England to support Catholicism. The law also made it legal to kill anyone attempting to assassinate Elizabeth, reflecting her government's growing fears about Catholic plots. By 1593, Catholics faced even stricter restrictions with the Statute of Confinement. This law stated that Catholics were not allowed to travel more than 5 miles from their homes without permission from local authorities. This limited their movement and made it harder for them to organise or spread Catholic beliefs. In summary, Elizabeth faced major Catholic opposition from abroad, especially from the Pope and Catholic powers like Spain and France, who wanted to restore Catholicism in England. At home, powerful Catholic nobles, particularly in the north, remained loyal to the old faith and supported plots to replace Elizabeth with Mary Queen of Scots. Elizabeth was initially tolerant of Catholics, but events like the 1569 Northern Rebellion and the Pope's excommunication in 1570 made her more cautious and strict. Catholic plots, such as the Ridolfi, Throckmorton and Babington plots, aimed to overthrow Elizabeth and restore a Catholic monarch with foreign support. Catholic missionary efforts, including Jesuit priests like Edmund Campion, were seen as threats and met with harsh laws and punishments. The government introduced stricter laws over time, such as heavy recusancy fines, bans on Catholic priests, and limits on Catholic movement to control opposition.